vote on the delegates for the ACCT Leadership Congress or if I appoint them. But only 3 of us are going, and we are allowed 2 votes.
Madam Chair, with respect to item 7.2, I make a motion that Leslie Beggs and Nancy Hinton be our voting delegates to the ACCT conference.
Second.
Well, discussion, I was going to go for the 2 senior members attending.
Oh,
No, I purposely wanted Nancy to get that different perspective, not for what most people would consider that I didn't want to participate, but one could assume that, but no, for Leslie, get a
One
different,
did assume that.
yeah, we'll get a
so,
different perspective.
okay, and is it allowed for us to appoint an alternate named Darren or not?
Do the rules allow, I mean, I'm not opposed to that since I made the motion, but are we, do the
Let's
rules
add that
allow
if
for an
it's
alternate?
The letter we received from ACCT just says to,
I'm just wondering if somebody is sick or has a headache like we had today, or
Well, let's,
it would be the pleasure.
let's say if we're
I'll
allowed to,
amend
we
it and
have.
say tag I'm it and I'll be the alternate.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so we're set there. Okay, the next item up is ironically about meetings at Columbia College, which is where we were supposed to be today, at Margie's request. So we wanted to have a discussion about that, so we want to hear how other trustees feel.
let's hear her reasons first. Who's going to make the motion? No, well, you can make the motion, but I understand that it was not supposed to be listed this way. It was supposed to be a discussion. But you can make the motion, but I'd like to know why you think this is a good idea.
I expressed last time, and I think it was, I think it was captured in the notes here. And thank you, Graciela, for doing that. But a couple reasons that are worth repeating, and that is that while we often compare the number of staff and students between each campus, and probably naturally weigh in on our decisions based on the number of events or activities that take place at one college versus the other, mostly owing to size and proportion. The sentiments of staff, whether it be a handful or many, depend on our involvement and our stewardship of those activities. And it's been long verbalized to me before being a trustee and now as a trustee that sometimes the absence of our presence at the college, not you know, the events that many of us attend, not that at all, but the absence of the governance portion out of convenience looks like because where the district offices happens to be the same place as where Modesto Junior College is. And that the sentiment has been voiced to me that Columbia College feels second. And I'm not saying it as a you know, a sob story. It's just the reality of both convenience and perhaps, you know, efficiencies and those other things. And also recognizing that the leadership in the YFA has increased to, I think now, greater proportions of Columbia College, including the hardship of staff at Columbia College to come to 10 meetings out of the year here and only 2 available to them. I bring this up, underscoring those examples, as a request for equity, that the voices and the representation of the constituents who we all represent be more accessible by recognizing that and placing a minimum of 4 of the 12 meetings at Columbia College's campus.
I would prefer to have 3.
I had similar discussions with Lynn when she was representing the area, and she too felt as you did. She didn't have a specific number in mind, but felt as you did. And I was in agreement with discussing it. I'm supportive of the idea of we meet in March. Graciela is going to tell me if I'm off base here. So we meet in March and we meet in October. I would be supportive of the idea of meeting in July, holding our monthly meeting in July. Why July? Well, if faculty is off during the summer, I think you'll, maybe get some people. You get other people, maybe students that are off for various reasons that are not enrolled, maybe live in the area and that would like to participate. So I'm in favor of adding an additional meeting to Columbia College. So it would be March, July, and October.
Nancy?
That would be my preference.
I was always thinking, why are we not going up there like more times and everything? But I was looking at, one thing was that there's 7 trustees, and if each one took a month at the locality, then we would be, pretty much a 6 and 2. But I think with the student trustee being in Columbia, I would agree with the 3. I think there's too many months where we could hit either the type of thing that happened today, and I know poor Margie was thinking, oh, today's a horrible time to bring this up because we were supposed to be up there today. And, we have November, December, January, and probably February that the weather could really be, you know, chance of shutting down the college for snow and needing generators and all, and we could have that situation. So I'm in agreement with what Darren's saying to move to a summer month plus the March and October, because we're usually pretty safe in March and October.
Okay, I'd like to speak to not making any change in the calendar, and I'd like to share my rationale. And I'm sure some thought went into this when it was originally set that way, that 2 meetings there. It was mentioned by Nancy that there are 7 trustees. This would make it easier for 1 trustee and cause a hardship for 6 others. Or maybe hardship's the wrong word, but I mean, I have to plan an hour and 45 minutes each way to get up there. And if we're making 6 people, that's just a little more effort. Also, we were told tonight by Brian that the size, MJC is 7 times larger than Columbia. I think that the numbers do matter because the vast majority of constituents of the YCCD board are closer to this meeting place so that they have the opportunity to come. And I think, and prove me wrong, but the majority of staff that is required to run our meetings that have to come, Graciela, Kim, others, is a larger factor than the amount of people that have to come down from the hill. If you think of a college district like Los Angeles, I think they have 7 colleges? 9. I don't know how they work it out, but I'll tell you they're not having 2 at each of them a year. It just doesn't work that way. And so to me, the size of it matters. The travel costs, it's going to cost the district more to pay for the mileage for all the people that have to go up there than for you to come down. I'm going to agree that the trustee from District Number 1, which you are, Margie, has the worst travel of all 7 of us. But I guess maybe I'm thinking of the greater good. We do have a problem potentially with fire, with snow, and the cost of bringing all of the Stanislaus County area people up to Tuolumne should be considered, and I just prefer to keep it as is.
So my understanding is if we change how many meetings we have up there, we have to amend our policy. But does our policy specify the months, or has that just become our practice, our precedent?
The policy specifies the months
In the procedure,
in the policy.
in the policy?
It's on the policy, wait, I don't have the right page.
Policy.
It's on page 74 of 127, and it says the regular meetings will be held on the second Wednesday of each month, and 2 per year will be held at Columbia College.
2 months.
I didn't think it specified the particular months, though. I didn't think it said October, and that's what I was asking.
I believe you're correct, Wednesday.
Okay, because I thought, gee, did I miss that?
Well, I'd like to keep it the way it is and just add, I'll make a motion.
Well, okay,
Ed?
can I was just going to say that personally, I would prefer some flexibility. So I would like something that's like 2 to 4 months so that if we can, if it seems reasonable, and like I'd like to make up this month that we missed when it's convenient and not be told, well, you can't go because it's not the month you're
Okay,
supposed to go.
Keep in mind that we have to adopt the meeting calendar
In December.
in December. Once you adopt that, you can't change it. I suppose by act of God or Congress you could, but,
Or high
you're
winds.
adopting your official meeting calendar. People are planning, I hear what you're saying, Ann, but it's really staff and the public and students wanting, we're trying to get participation here. And so they're planning around that, mainly staff. So my recommendation would be add that July meeting. People in Columbia are already patterned off of March and October, and we will add the month of July. So my motion would be that we,
We do have a motion on the floor. I think Margie made the
I
motion.
don't think I
No?
got it out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but keep going, trustee
so,
Garrett.
so I would make a motion that we bring back to this board, because it's, am I correct, Madam Clerk, that it's not on the agenda tonight to amend the policy
No, it's on the agenda
for
tonight to
discussion?
approve the number of meetings and provide direction to the chancellor so that if that is a desire of the board, that we can move forward and get the,
So my motion would be that we add the month of July to our future meeting calendar, Board of Trustee meeting calendar, with July being a month in which we will meet in Columbia, and that we direct staff to make those changes and bring back an amendment to Board Policy 2310.
I second that motion.
All in favor or further
Well,
discussion?
do you want to have specifically, wouldn't you prefer to say that we have a third meeting as opposed to?
I think you have to adopt your meeting calendar, and I think you just set it this way, direct staff to make those changes and bring back a amendment to Board Policy 2310.
We do that in the December meeting when we reorg.
yeah, so in November, we'll bring back the policy for it to say, since it only says 2 meetings, 3 meetings, but the direction of the board will be to include July as the 3rd meeting, correct?
We have
Yes.
a motion on the floor. And a second.
All right, all in favor? Say aye.
Do a roll call vote.
Okay.
Okay, trustee Rojas,
Aye.
trustee DeMartini,
No.
trustee Garrett,
Aye.
trustee Beggs,
Aye.
or Beggs, sorry. Trustee Hinton,
Aye.
trustee Aguilar not present for vote, trustee Balkan.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you for the discussion. Okay, So we're now up to trustee DeMartini, who's going to be our board policy person tonight.
Well, and she's asking for help from Kim, although I can't see you very well. If I leave something out or make an error, please feel free to speak up, and also from the rest of the policy, and Nancy and Leslie, who are also on the committee. We begin with the second readings, and each of the trustees at the dais, we have
Changes here?
changes. I don't. 58. Okay, so at the board meeting, and if anyone not on that committee wants to make a change, just speak up. That the Policy and Procedures Board Committee made no corrections to 5010, made no corrections to 5011, 5510, 5570, 5700. Does any board member want to offer any changes to the wording of those on the second reading?
I just wanted to bring up 5570 because after speaking, the students speaking tonight, I think that they have some concerns with the credit card companies coming onto campus and being able to make those offers without having some kind of a training and help with financial security. So I don't know if we want to.
So you and I are in agreement. My recommendation is that with respect to our chair and our chair of the policy committee, that with item 7.4 specifically, board policy 5570, that we pull that tonight and send it back to the constituency groups, mainly the students. I know our YFA president, Shelley Akiona, who offered up some information in our last meeting. I think there's, and Dr. Hoopus, our president, did as well. I think there's some opportunity here to provide some A-specific classes if students want to. So maybe we can frame, I don't know if we can do it, but we can frame the policy around that with their input. Does that work?
If that's what the board wants, I think
That
so.
would be my request.
I know Connie would, who's not able to be here, might offer some comments. Kim, I can't see you, so do you have a response to what Darren said? I'm sorry, I told you you wouldn't have to come up here. I just,
No, Chair Beggs, Trustee Garrett, we will send this back if that is the will of the board.
Given the light of the comments from the ASMJC, and we're always begging for input. So here's a perfect opportunity to participate at a deeper level. So let's pull it.
Just a note that at the last board meeting, the board did give an affirmative statement which encouraged educational sessions.
So let's put that somehow in the policy.
it is, it is.
Added.
It's right there.
The affirmative statement was the Board of Trustees supports students having access to all instruments of financial independence, and with that, encourages educational sessions for students regarding prudent financial planning. And that was added on the basis of the board.
The only thing,
What we don't know is if it's feasible for, and in what form we would offer the kind of financial literacy classes they're asking for.
A suggestion would be to pull it and have a third reading on it, giving time for the student, the ASCC and the ASMJC, time to be able to meet over and discuss if this additional language will satisfy and meet their needs.
I think that's a good idea, and I think also really working with our student trustee and ASMJC president and ASCC president, and put them in charge of getting feedback from their constituents, presenting it to the policy committee, or you can collect it or something.
Excellent idea.
I'd also like to ask for the ASMJC students, would you guys be able to come to the next policy and procedure meeting and share with us what the students have shared with you? It's the first Monday of November.
No, it's,
It's on a Tuesday due to a holiday, Veterans Day on
Oh,
November 11th. So it'll be November 12th,
okay.
Tuesday.
the second Tuesday. It wouldn't-
Second Tuesday, I'm sorry.
12:30.
12:30
It's
to 2.
12:30 to
Yes.
2.
We can send them.
Thank you, Chair Kim.
Okay.
All right, let's go on to 5800, prevention of identity theft in student financial transactions. I see the only change as being on page 7 of 8, where we have required oversight by the district's vice chancellor of educational support services being added. Okay, and then the next one, 5-8003, is the same as last time, which is being eliminated. And then 5-8068, student publications. We made no changes. And then in the last one of the second readings, 5-8081, a slight change was made on academic freedom for students. And it's on line 12. And instead of saying that the institutional procedures for achieving these purposes may vary from campus to campus, but we changed the minimal standards of academic freedom to the maintaining rigorous standards of academic freedom for students. That's what we decided on. So at this time, I believe, but I'm asking, that the board wants to pull 5570, that's the wishes of the majority of the board, and I'm asking for approval of all the other second readings. Is that the wish of the
moved.
board?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Point of
Aye.
clarification.
Oh.
The pulling, instead of routing back to the constituency group, it's just for a third reading. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Yes, because we hope to have input from the students on that Tuesday. So we can vote.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries.
Can I get the first and second? I didn't capture.
I made the first, trustee Bilkin made the second.
Thank you.
And now I have to find my first readings. Sorry.
We all have about 10 different stacks of paper
Yeah.
up here.
Okay. So the first reading is 2432, the District Chief Executive Officer CEO succession. And we made no changes. We recommended no changes. Correct? Is that your recollection? Okay. Then let's move to 2725, board member compensation. This one, there are two things that we want the full board's approval or not on, is that one of the constituent comments before it got to the board was that they wanted to have accounting or requiring us to have some specific things. So it's specifically mentioned in here, the meetings that board members have to attend to receive compensation. And we felt that it would be good to have that accountability also for the student trustee, but we did it less specifically. So in line, we moved this around, but in line 13, the board members have it, but let me read it for you if you don't have it. The student member of the board shall receive up to $400 per month. The student trustee will be required to attend a minimum of 4 meetings per month. Has to come to the regular board meeting to receive compensation. And then the 3 others will be as agreed upon in consultation with the chancellor. And the reason for the lack of specificity is because the chancellor gave us an example of, we had a student trustee that was supposed to attend a district cabinet, or just, what was it? Some district meeting. And sorry, there's a lot of meetings. And it conflicted with a lab class that was only offered at that time. And it doesn't make sense to have a student have to, not be able to continue as a student while they serve as a trustee. So those 4 meetings would be determined. The chancellor certainly would suggest, what they can do. And if the student, has a different reasons, class conflict, we certainly want to honor that. So that was the changes that were made to that policy. The other, I guess, change was that it was the recommendation of the board policy committee that this be done as a second reading tonight. And the rationale for this is that this idea started over 2 years ago. I'm not sure which came first, due process or this, but for various reasons, it was delayed. YFA negotiations, it was delayed by Columbia. They wanted rationale, and it was delayed by summer, and this sort of thing. In June, the board voted their intention to look at compensating board members, and so since they did make that acknowledgement there, it was the wish of the policy committee that the board agree to this as a second reading. So I ask you if that's all right or not. Are there any objections to doing that?
I'm fine with it. I also, it's not in the policy, but we did check. If trustees wish to decline the salary, that's fine.
And if trustees are not able to attend, I actually have if this passes, I have a vacation scheduled during one of them. So, that'll be some efficiency saved for the district. Okay, let's assume.
So 2 things. I'm glad that you included the language that Abe and I brought up, so there is some accountability. Um, those ideas were born out of the simple concept of, basically, if employees don't show up, they don't get paid. So the same should be true for trustees. If we're going to have this, if we don't fulfill our obligations and our commitments, then on a pro rata basis, we shouldn't get paid. So thank you for including that language. Second of all, I'm not opposed to moving this to a second reading tonight. You are correct. This has been around for a while. I'm looking at Alan, and he's very attuned to what's going on, sitting on the policy committee. And I think this has been studied and looked at, and no one is opposed to it that I'm aware of. So I don't have a problem with that. I'll touch on what our chairperson said. I am going to decline this. Most of you know that I retired with many years with county service, and I see the intent here to maybe somehow get more people to run for these positions, and maybe this will be an additional enticement for someone to do that. But on a personal note, I am well compensated in my current life as a retiree, and I don't think it's fair at this time, my personal opinion, to take this. It doesn't mean that later I may change my mind, but right now, no. So I won't be taking this.
Or you can also take it and donate it all to one of the MJC or Columbia College foundations.
I'm sure the chancellor will take my $400 and put it towards student needs, so that'll work.
Okay, so do we,
Uh, why don't we
vote
vote on that separately? We're not finished
Okay.
with the first reading.
Okay.
But let's do a motion. Is the board willing to pass this as a second reading? If it fails, it'll go back it'll come back next month for.
We need a motion, Madam Clerk?
Pardon me? Yes, we do, because this is a first reading, so.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Okay, then that passed. Let's move on now to 3300 public records. We had no changes in that. Then 4021, I had a change I wanted to make. That it came to us with a change of the title, so I felt that the first sentence should reflect that title change. So since we're calling it Program Viability, Revitalization, and Discontinuous Procedures, we're going to add that the chancellor shall ensure the district complies with applicable laws and mandates for program viability, revitalization, and discontinuance procedures.
Well done.
Okay. Then grading and academic record symbols, no change. Because that's really not our preview. On the syllabus, no change. On 7250, the educational administrators, we changed on line 30, it says educational administrators shall further be entitled to health and welfare benefits. We kind of thought that the welfare benefits must mean we're not paying them enough, but so we eliminated that they'll be entitled to benefits. That's our suggested change.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the 7500, I need a little help with this because frankly, we didn't get very far on this. We were overtime. So it is my understanding that we proposed the changes that we have, which is that we eliminated on line 11 the first sentence, and we just changed it to volunteers are subject to the screening process. But we had questions that were going to be researched. But we'd like to have this a first reading, but I'd say you could expect some changes for the second reading.
I think that's what we agreed on, was that we would have changes because they were going to look into some stuff, but that we would keep this as a first reading.
Okay, so I know that on first readings, we don't need to have an actual vote, but is everyone acceptable to having those as first reading? Okay, great.
No one has any comments? I realize it's 20 minutes after 8 in the evening, but grading and academic record symbols? Somebody must have an opinion on that. No? Okay, I tried, Ann, I'm sorry.
All right. Okay, so am I correct? That's the last one?
That was the last one.
Okay, so then you can go on to the next item.
Okay. So, let's see, am I correct? 7.6, Citizens Bond Oversight Committee membership. We need to have a motion to.
Oh, Madam Chair, I'll recommend that the Board of Trustees appoints the following individuals to serve on the Yosemite Community College District Citizens Bond Oversight Committee for a 2-year term. Sherry Fowler, Senior Citizen Organization, 3rd term, and Joseph Stephen Collins, College Support Organization, 1st term.
Where have I heard that name before?
I'll second. And thank these people for volunteering. It's not a spectacular, fun committee to serve on.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we're up to board comments. I'm trusting Graciela, tell me if I've overlooked something. Let's start with Margie.
I want to acknowledge that the El Concilio, which is in its 51st year as Central Valley's largest Latino-led community-based organization, are planning to honor a few people. I don't think it's a surprise. In our midst.
Probably is to them, but go ahead.
Yeah.
No, they know.
On October 25th, and that would be Graciela Molina, who is getting honored as an unsung hero. And Abe Rojas as Amigo of the Year. Nice. So nice. Congratulations. I was so delighted to see that honor to both of you. I also wanted to acknowledge, it took a little while to digest, but Dr. Sanders and Dr. Zillet's presentation on the allocation model and how it relates to scheduling and how it complements this new funding formula, which I do believe has removed a number of barriers for students by having colleges be more accountable across a variety of metrics. Even though I echo Trustee Garrett's comment that while our colleges have met the challenge on a number of levels, we're not certain that the state will make due on their rewards for the work that we do. However, the presentation tonight, complemented by the report on the implementation of AB 705, which Columbia College was noted particularly for advancing AB 705 in the area of English. And really, Chad, your efforts to serve the underrepresented populations of incarcerated citizens, including juveniles in detention facilities, is so commendable. And I'm so glad to see that also in the president's report, and so anxious to hear more information that rolls out. All of that said is that the reports this evening continue to point at student access in completing pathway courses that lead to hopefully a living wage jobs. And really, the unity of thought on that is so impressive. I have two more. Number three is that late September, the Columbia College Foundation made a tremendous announcement. And that announcement was on the heels of the tremendous first announcement that they would offer free tuition for students graduating from high schools in Tuolumne County and Bret Harte and Calaveras, and would pay first-year college tuition to any of those students to attend Columbia College. The foundation announced at the end of September that they've extended that to a second year. And that is just really tremendous. And a shout out in my comments to the incredible pockets, whether they're deep or not, of community members who pay it forward to help underrepresented, underprivileged, economic all of those young people that find it difficult to pay $1,200 for tuition. It's just remarkable. Last but not, and not only extending a second year, and extending a second year, but also extended the footprint to whom that scholarship goes, extending it to Mariposa County, Oakdale, Waterford, and the rest of Calaveras County. I mean, it says so much about community giving. I'm just so proud of what that's become. Then I wanted to also acknowledge that I attended the Columbia College Academic Senate meeting and thank Pam for inviting me. And I failed to mention last time that Chad invited me to Modesto's, and unfortunately, that falls on an evening where I do consulting in Amador County. So unless you move them, my heart is with you, and I do want to publicly appreciate, which I failed to do last time. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Nancy?
Well, I'm not first, I'm second this time. This last month, we attended the special budget meeting on October 2nd, and it was very enlightening as we learned of some of the issues that you guys are facing, and I'm sure, kind of worrisome. You guys are getting penalized for succeeding. You guys did too well in what the government set out and wanted you to do and not get the rewards that you were expecting. And we understand that, and therefore we are behind the students here, and we are behind you, and we realize the hard work that you guys put in to do the presentations, Jennifer and Brian tonight, sharing with us that is not taken for granted. We appreciate the time you put into it and shared with us. And all of you who have done the presentations to give us the information that we need. And we are asking for information, and we don't take it lightly. That evening, we attended the um, SCO, SCOE dinner, and I was approached by someone who at this time wants to remain nameless, anonymous, but wants to make sure that our efforts up in Columbia are not taken for granted, because they deal with the student body in Amador and Calaveras, and they noticed that we're the ones that have been, you guys have done a great job. They were excited that Columbia College was meeting their needs, and they wanted to make sure that the funding that was going to another school in the area got switched over to Columbia, because of the fact that they're meeting the needs of the students that they have, and that hasn't, gone unnoticed. So as a whole, our student body's working and bringing things back, and everything that you guys have done, we appreciate it. And as a board, we'd like to say thank you. And we look forward to the rest of the year. And I did go to the policy and procedures meeting, and we are working very diligently on the due process. And thank you to Alan and others that come in and share what they're hearing from you, and it's being heard.
Okay, Abe.
Oh, wow, sharing your information with a passion, it looks pretty good. Other than attending the debriefings and the agenda reviews, I attended several athletic events. Also, the MJC Art Department's Jam and Jive, EOPS 50th anniversary, and the SCOE dinner. And then, thank you, Shelley. I met with Shelley for her YFA president position, so thank you.
Ann.
I had the pleasure of attending the MJC Constitution Day debate, and I enjoyed seeing that, and I'm pleased to announce that the side that won wants to keep the Electoral College, yay. Then I met with Henry and Shelley on different days, different meetings, but I had that. Um, uh, Chancellor Young has already mentioned that we went to Newman and Patterson to discuss dual enrollment. Nancy mentioned the special meeting. I attended that. And the SCO dinner. What we didn't mention is that this is the first time ever at SCO. They have 2 dinners a year, and it's a chance for all the school boards in Stanislaus County are invited. So you have all the K-8, K-12, and us as community college. And it's a wonderful chance to workshop. And this is the first time ever that MJC has been invited to do a presentation. And so that was Florida and Jim Hoopas who gave that in. And he's not here, but I want him to know that I gave him credit. The reason that MJC was selected, and it was great, I was very proud to have you be able to have that opportunity, was because our representative on the school board, Tony Aguilar, pushed for having, well, let's have MJC do a presentation. So my thanks to Tony for doing that. We had a policy and procedure meeting, and I just have 2 other things. They're not things I did, but things I want to comment on. And the first, this is a month late, but a big thank you. She's going to be surprised, to Judy Lanchester, because finally now in the bathroom, I can wash my hands without it spraying everywhere. Thank you. Thank you. It's about time, but thank you, okay? And the other thing, I'd kind of like maybe some input from anybody, but I sat, see, a lot of you haven't done this, you're so new. I sat in the old antiquated building, but I got to watch the pictures of all the trustees that have come before. And I was just thinking tonight how nice it would have been to have the picture of Don Viss up there. So we could have looked at that. So it is my request, and I've asked this before twice, so I'm doing it publicly this time. Bring back the pictures and put them up. Is there a reason why we don't do that?
I think it affects what the purpose is of that wall.
I don't care.
The problem that we did run into at the other building was eventually we will run out of space. And so to honor that, what we.
You're going to put none up.
Well, no, a suggestion that I might have is that maybe we dedicate a page on our website that has photos, small photos that we recognize our board members, but not necessarily,
Okay, that's fine. I want to see them up, and it could be like they do at Columbia College. You have little wires hanging, and they attach to the wires, like you have the art displayed in Manzanita. But I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
I like the idea of having the pictures up. I mean, there aren't that many of us, are there? How many?
I don't know how many frames there are, but they were all, what are they, 8 by 10 in larger frames. And so just finding space, I think the time that before the problem that we were running into is finding the exact same frame to make it look nice and consistent. And so then we had to purchase all new frames. So, I mean, there's challenges, whatever the board's pleasure is. I just offered that as a suggestion to memorialize the trustees that we have.
I would want a little bit more description of what this idea is, because my first reaction is to put students or, I'm not sure that board members.
Margie, we used to have all the pictures in the other boardroom, and they'd been there forever. And it said when they started and when they finished, so you could look and see who's come before. And like if you go down to the city-county building, they have a picture of every supervisor since this county started. And they're in different frames. I mean, we went from black and white to color. I mean, those are changes. I don't care if the frames are all the same.
Before we make a decision, I personally would like a little bit more conceptualizing of what that would look like.
Well, I just wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, I think that's great. And it's fine, something to talk about, but we've got pictures in a basement somewhere. I think they ought to be up on the wall. And
Well,
I personally don't care about the frames, but
I had suggested in the past that we also have the photos that like we have here, maybe in the student center. I don't know how many times I've gone to JC and had the opportunity to buy some kids lunch, and they look at me like, "Who are you?" You know. And so I was always wondered why we didn't have a picture of the trustees at the student center at MJC.
I know that we have photos at Columbia, Manzanita. I'd have to check with MJC to see. If not, we can get those there.
okay, so Darren.
In respect of time, I gave the balance of my time to everybody else, so I have nothing to report. As far as pictures, you can save space and take mine down, so there you go right there. Nobody wants to look at me. Multiple meetings this month. First of all, I would like to send my condolences, as others have, to the Viss family. Don was a serving trustee when I came on. He was as Alan, I don't think I can add to anything you said. You did a very nice job. Thank you. But he was helpful in his own way. He was a very principled man, and he was helpful as someone coming onto the board new. So my condolences to the family. I want to thank our president of Columbia College, Dr. B, for holding the fire drill and for his focus on safety on the campus. I know Dr. Hoopus shares that as well and is working on a plan, talking with the various constituents and groups along with the chancellor. So thank you for that. I want to thank the Academic Senate and Dr. Hoopus for recognizing the importance of educating our incarcerated youth, not just incarcerated individuals, specifically, but incarcerated youth and reaching out to the probation department and the juvenile commitment facility that's next door. I mean, it's a perfect opportunity. I know we've had that partnership, but I think it's a great opportunity to expand it and provide opportunities to those young adults that have lost their way and put them back on the right track and give them some hope and some dreams that they can work off of. And I had the usual meetings. A lot of you were there. Again, I want to thank the conversations I had with Sherry and with Alan and continuing on, because I think those relationships are important and they're very beneficial. I'm waiting to have a meeting with the CSEA local chapter 420 president, but I know you said you're very busy, so I'll wait to hear back. So with that, I'll end my comments. Thank you all very much.
Okay, so I also went to the MJC Constitution Day event. It was great, really fun, and it was fun to see the students debating and not even knowing which side they were really on, but trying to figure that out. I also went to the board debrief meeting with the chancellor, the vice chair, Abe, and the past chair, Darren. I've had lunch with Shelley. I've had lunch with Dr. Hoopus. We had the emergency budget update. I went to the SCOE annual fall school board dinner, which is always interesting, and it was nice that MJC was not just speaking, but like the main event of the night. The policies and procedures meeting, and I went to the MJC Foundation board meeting yesterday. And, you know, the foundation has set a goal of raising $10 million to provide improvements to the campus and learning programs coinciding with the celebration of MJC's 100th birthday. And so the foundation board is beginning a process to determine the feasibility of launching a capital campaign of that magnitude. But that's another thing on the horizon that we all need to be thinking about, along with bonds and shortfalls and funding mysteries. So anyway, thank you very much for everything this evening, and this meeting is almost adjourned, because I always forget to tell you when we're meeting next time. Yeah, that was one of my questions, is do we make up the missed meeting at Columbia, or?
It was suggested.
Like all the power could go off here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not averse to that at all.
It was
So,
suggested December. President.
yeah, so we can talk about it. That was why I was talking earlier about flexibility too, being built into our policy. So our next meeting is Wednesday, November 13th. Closed session begins at 3:30 and open session at 5:30 here. And this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
This is the.
I wasn't